Hi, I'm Kendra with WTMAstrology, and today I am talking about Gemini and Cancer compatibility. So, with Gemini and Cancer, we have mutable air and cardinal water. Now, this isn't a terrible combination. There are definitely some differences between these two signs. Obviously, we have, a masculine sign or a yang sign, and then a yin sign. And Cancer is very emotional, but there are some ways that they can really help each other. So, in Gemini, we have someone who's very communicative, someone who's very much about, connecting the dots, piecing together information, connecting ideas. It's a very active energy, really likes to be out and about, really likes to be constantly moving, constantly active. Mercury is about movement, Mercury is about communication. So it's going to have a lot to do with that movement and that constant stimulation, intellectual stimulation in particular. And then Cancer is a lot more home centered. Cancer is a sign that really values home time, private time, alone time. And even though they really enjoy emotional connection and they really enjoy having someone they can really connect with on a deep level, they don't like to be bothered a whole lot. They really like to have their space. They really like to have like I said, they really value their private time, their alone time. So one thing that I can say that is positive about this connection is that if they can learn to get along with one another, it can actually be really positive. So, Gemini can really help Cancer have some. Cancer's an energy that can actually stagnate. It's a water sign, so while those emotions are flowing, they're not necessarily doing anything in the real world. Cancer can be really held back by their emotions and really kind of stagnate in those emotions. So with Gemini energy, it can help them come out of their shell a little bit and experience the world. To a point, that's a positive thing. And then Cancer can really help Gemini kind of center themselves, connect to themselves emotionally. I think that Gemini energy can really just help Cancer come out of their shell. Cancer can really help Gemini almost relax. Cancer has that really caring, nurturing quality to them. They're the maternal sign of the zodiac, so they can really nurture Gemini. Gemini has that really nervous energy. That's part of the reason why they're always moving. It's almost kind of like it's to distract themselves from some of the nervous problems that they have. A lot of Gemini energy tends to have nervous disorders, nervous issues, anxiety disorders, and things of that nature because they're so heavily mercurial. Mercury rules the nervous system. So Gemini can have a lot of issues with anxiety, and Cancer would be a very soothing influence to them because they have that maternal edge to them. They would be really inclined to help Gemini. They'd want to help Gemini find peace. They would want to help them calm down. They would kind of be able to soothe that a little bit, offer them some kind of care and nurturing that Gemini really needs, which they may not realize that they need. They may not realize that they could actually benefit from sitting at home and, being alone with their lover and allowing someone to take care of them, but they actually can. I think everybody could benefit from that. And then again, Gemini can help Cancer kind of talk through their feelings. If Cancer is willing to do that, Cancer can have a really hard time actually talking about their feelings. Cancer's more about feeling the feelings and not always so much expressing them. But Gemini, because they are so communicative and they can really break things down on that intellectual level, they can really help Cancer express their emotions by asking the right questions, by if Cancer doesn't get annoyed, if Cancer doesn't get annoyed by Gemini and allows them to kind of help them talk through and intellectualize their feelings a little bit, break it down for them, then that can be a really positive thing for Cancer as well. Gemini can really help Cancer break down what it is that they're feeling, why they're feeling it, and just help them kind of talk through it. That can be a really positive thing for Cancer because in the end, if they are willing to work with Gemini a little bit, they're able to rationalize and vocalize their feelings, that can actually be a really healing influence and it can actually really benefit the relationship. And I don't know that a lot of signs would be able to help Cancer come out of their shell so much. Get like say Aries or something. Aries might just get impatient and kind of just see ya with Cancer. Capricorn might be a little more terse with Cancer and just really almost look down on that sulking thing that Cancer does, think they're over emotional or something like that. But Gemini, I think, if they're patient with Cancer and Cancer is patient with Gemini, they can really help them vocalize those things, which is really important for Cancer. Now, some of the issues. As always, the same things that are the gifts of this dynamic are the things that are the curse of this dynamic, the curses of this dynamic. So, Gemini is very nervous energy, and Cancer is really sensitive, Cancer is really empathetic, so instead of always being able to help Gemini and being able to nurture Gemini, sometimes they would just kind of soak in that nervous energy. They would be able to feel it as if it were their own. They would be able to empathize with it, and that could bring Cancer down instead of Cancer being able to lift Gemini up. Cancer could also get really easily offended by Gemini because Gemini is one of those signs. Actually, it's kind of the sign. Gemini and Sagittarius both actually can be really, really insensitive sometimes when it comes to the things that they say. They can have foot and mouth syndrome, word vomit kind of thing, and just really say the wrong thing. Gemini has that dual nature, so they can kind of process their feelings as they are, or their thoughts as they are communicating them. So even if it's something that they don't mean, they could be working through something intellectually, and, as they're processing this verbally, it can come out in a really negative and offensive way. As far as Cancer is concerned, it might not offend everybody, but Cancer can be very sensitive. Cancer may take what Gemini said and hold on to that and become very offended. And then Gemini might respond with more word vomit and really just lay it on thick, make the situation even worse. And Cancer would then respond by withdrawing and sulking, and Gemini just wants to talk it out. Gemini insists that they talk out the issue, and Cancer wants absolutely no part of it. Cancer wants to be left alone, to sit in their feelings, and sometimes it's to feel sorry for themselves, sometimes it's to actually process those emotions in their own way, but regardless, it's incompatible. It's incompatible stuff. Gemini really wants to continue to talk and fix it and intellectualize it, and Cancer is not about that. Cancer really wants to process their emotions internally a lot of the time, especially if they feel hurt by someone. It can be extremely hard for Cancer to vocalize that and to really break that down. And again, like I said earlier, Gemini can actually help them vocalize it. We can help them break it down on an intellectual level, but Cancer can be very hard to persuade to communicate when they don't want to and when they feel upset. Then you have the aspect of Gemini really wanting to be out and about, really wanting to be active, and Cancer really, again, valuing that alone time. Gemini really wanting to connect, really wanting to talk, really wanting to communicate, and Cancer just getting overwhelmed. Cancer can get very easily overwhelmed as well. Find Gemini overbearing at times when it comes to how much they want to communicate and how they process information, how they process their emotions. It can be very external the way Gemini does that, and Cancer, again, really needs to do that on a more internal level and can have a hard time, can get overwhelmed by the stimulation that Gemini is. Gemini is stimulation. Then we have Gemini being possibly feeling a little bit smothered by Cancer. You've got an air sign and a water sign. Water can be very heavy emotional influence, can just feel very heavy to the light and airy Gemini nature. That's a deep waters. Cancer is deep waters, and they don't need that constant stimulation, but the moods can be really heavy with Cancer, and the vibes around Cancer can be very intense because they have that heavy emotional nature, and that can feel like a lot for Gemini, who's much more lighthearted. That's not to say they don't have depth, but they definitely process things in a different way, and they can find Cancer's heavy emotional nature to be overwhelming to them and make them want to get away. Then, Cancer is that really home-centered energy, and Gemini can be very easily bored. They don't want to always be at home. Cancer regenerates by being at home. Gemini regenerates by socializing. Gemini is very much a social butterfly, likes to be out and talking to different kinds of people, experiencing different kinds of things, and they can feel a little bit confined by the Cancerian energy, especially if Cancer really gets possessive of Gemini and their time and their energy, and they want to have Gemini all to themselves. That can feel kind of heavy to Gemini because that's not their whole deal. They're not about being at home. They're about going out there and experiencing things and talking to different people, and they would love, if they're in a love relationship, these people really love each other. I'm sure Gemini would love for Cancer to be a part of that, but Cancer would love for Gemini to be a part of the domestic bliss that Cancer is associated with. So these are some of the downfalls. These are some of the issues that you might run into in a Gemini and Cancer dynamic. That's all I had to say about Gemini and Cancer together. Overall, I think it can definitely be beneficial if you're willing to work with the energy. As with any sign pairing, there's definitely things that they can, benefit from each other. They can learn from each other, but they are very different signs. So anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I did want to remind you that I offer relationship readings and chart readings of all kinds, and I'm leaving the link to my store in the description below. Once again, I really hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day.